What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. As always, today's episode is brought to you by Off the Record. We love Off the Record here at TST, and we have a new code, people. New code. They want to keep the codes moving for every year so they know who signs up in what year. You feel me? So go to offtherecord.com/TST or on the app, use code TST25, TST25 at Off the Record. And if you're going, hey, what's Off the Record? First off, welcome. Thanks for finding us. Secondly, they're a service that helps you fight tickets. Okay? No matter where you are in the country, they cover 97% of the U.S. Their partner attorneys will work to fight that ticket, keeping those points off your record for all of the reasons you don't want points on your driving record. Go to offtherecord.com/TST or use code TST25 on the Off the Record app, and we'll give you 10% off all legal services booked through Off the Record. I'm telling you guys, not a week goes by that someone doesn't hit me up in the DMs or send an email and say, man, Off the Record got me out of a big one, or Off the Record was super clutch. These are good people. They're working for you. So go do it, offtherecord.com/TST or code TST25 on the Off the Record app. All right, folks, on this episode of the podcast, many important things happen. We give an update on the FSD crashes into photo of wall drama. We talk about an upcoming car show with the Helms Bakery and an iconic delivery van based on that bakery's history. Learn some things about the 992.2. And I learned some things about what happens in my home when I turn on Cat TV. Plus, Zach has spent a few days and I spent a few minutes driving a $750,000 1970 Chevelle Resto mod. Let's talk about all of that and a whole lot more. It's the Smoking Tire Podcast. Let's go.
Yeah.
Maybach.
Oh, yeah.
I really need to hire a driver for the week.
Hire Nino.
I could do like, I could hire Nino. Oh, I should.
Might be kind of demeaning, but I don't know. Or it's a goof.
It's a Maybach.
Right.
I mean, it's not like I was like, you'd be like, yo, drive me around in a shitbox. Drive me around in like Rick Ross level of pimping.
Yeah.
It's got front massage seats.
You could do that thing like
back.
in Die Hard where the limo driver's like calling up hoes while Bruce Willis is in the building.
Yeah, or I like the limo driver in The Lincoln Lawyer, the movie, not the TV series. The TV series is I'm fine with, but the movie, the limo driver is real cool.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that movie very well.
Matthew McConaughey.
I know who he is.
Yeah, yes. Playing a lawyer.
For the second time.
Who's sort of constantly on the move in the back of a Lincoln Town car.
Because what was his first movie with Sam Jackson?
Time to Kill?
Yeah. That was his first movie, I believe, ever.
Killed it.
And it was...
Yeah,
good
no, you should
darn,
watch Matthew McConaughey on screen and not
anything.
listen to his personal opinions about shit.
Some of his opinions are very fun. And
Some
funny.
are so fun and crazy, but he just did an interview that I heard that was just insanity.
Yeah. Fine. I watch his movies. I don't need his brain to back up all his movies. Sometimes you meet your heroes. It's not a great idea. Sometimes
actors, man,
good idea.
Yeah, actors. It could go either way.
Right.
If someone is a talented actor, like they could be a genius, or they could be a completely demented lunatic.
There could be someone who has not had ideas professionally because they've just been reading and taking direction.
Yeah.
And then you ask what their ideas are, and they have just taken direction from the wrong people.
Well, and when I was younger, people that I knew who were actors and became actors were like, had like, mental and developmental issues, and like were really and felt were like looking to escape themselves by being somewhere. They were also the people that were like kind of like pathological liars. And granted, this is a sample size of like people I knew growing up, but I find like now that we live where a lot of those are, it's like 50-50. 50 is that, and then 50 is like fairly well adjusted.
Yeah, I have a bunch of friends that are like voice actors and stuff, and they are
voice actors,
very interesting, well adjusted.
Voice actors are, you want to hang out with them. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that you absolutely want to.
Some of them are some of the most well read and spoken people I've ever been around. I'm like, wow,
they know so many words. Yeah, voice actors rule. Hi. Welcome to the program today. It's out of what episode is this today, Zach?
996.
6. Oh,
correct.
Shit, we haven't considered the fact that we should have dedicated this to Porsches. I should do better about thinking to the... Should we talk about water-cooled Porsches? Just like a lot?
The beginning of water-cooled Porsches. They drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
I like the engine. I don't like the headlights.
And then we have to talk about like slightly better water-cooled Porsches next week.
Forever, yeah.
And then skip, go back in time.
Go back
actually to 991. Yeah.
Which makes
But then
sense.
forward again to 992. And hopefully the timeline doesn't skew into an alternate tangent.
Which it will.
Where Biff Tannen is
where we swing
powerful
in the air
and married to your mother. And
we're
it's
kind of there. So maybe we actually go back in time forward into a new dimension and Al Gore is president.
Right. In terms of like movies that have changed meaning recently, Back to the Future 2 is on that track for sure. Hi, everybody. I wrote things down to talk about for this show.
How rare.
And the first one, the most important one, is that Johnny Lieberman is having a car show in Los Angeles. So I know California is our biggest market, shocker. So if you happen to be in Los Angeles on March 23rd, there's going to be a car show at the Helms Bakery, which is also being it's Johnny and then our friend Sang, the chef who owns Father's Office and a whole bunch of other restaurants, and is relaunching the Helms Bakery restaurant, which was an actual famous commercial bakery. And it's connected to cars because if you've ever seen like a big Barrett Jackson or Meekum, Helms Bakery had these very custom specific vans made to deliver their bread and shit. And it's a really unique van that almost looks like French, like one of those Citroën HY kind of vans.
Is it shaped like a baguette? Like it's a long torpedo van?
Like not like the Wienermobile, but kind of. It's just look, just Google Helms Bakery van. And they sell once in a while at the sort of muscle car kind of auctions because they're of that time. So anyway, bakery closed down. The building became other things, and then Sang is relaunching the bakery as a restaurant.
These are cool.
Is the face because of the vans?
Yeah,
the vans are sick, right?
This?
Yeah. The Helms Bakery.
This is very
vans.
French. It is not. It's not shaped at all like a baguette. This looks like a personally driven
like
trolley car.
Loaf. Yeah,
it's a personal trolley car.
Yeah. Like imagine you took a trolley car and then chopped it down to be a two-seater.
Size, yeah. Wow, with racks in the back for bread. Yeah. Kind of dig it.
Right? Like, don't you kind of want to like cruise one around?
Oh, yes.
I think this would be a great Pebble Beach week vehicle. I bet you could roll this stock at Burning Man. You think you could just show up on the playa with this?
That's a great idea. If these weren't so expensive, you could deliver food out there and people would love you. But this seat, which is like a bicycle seat for people who are listening, sitting in traffic at Pebble Beach for 3 hours and your spine would fall apart.
On a bicycle. And the people looking at you at exactly 90 degrees from slightly below. It's not a complimentary driving position.
This steering wheel looks fake.
The steering wheel looks fake. The cockpit is a aluminum box.
This is the largest dashboard I've ever seen. Other people could sit up there.
Yeah, no, like you know what it would be great for if you had a really big dog.
Yep.
If you have a Great Dane, you could throw a Great Dane bed on the dash of this vehicle.
Dear Jeff Swart. But there you go.
Oh, and it's got a huge rack for cakes in the back.
It's got wooden
it's like
racks with glass windows so you can see your cakes as you go down the road.
Oh my God!
How much do these sell for? I
don't know.
It's on Sotheby's.
This is an auction page. What does it show the result, or did it show an estimate on this one? And you know what? I jokingly said Meekum and Barrett Jackson. This was fun. $246,000. This is RM Sotheby's.
Nope.
$246,000.
Not bringing that to the playa.
This sold at Pebble Beach 3 years ago, dude.
Taxes, people. Please pay them. This is where we're at, okay? It's not even a fun. It's fun for 5 minutes.
You know,
and it's a goof.
You know what this is? You got to throw some studs on it, and then it's your Yellowstone Club fucking ski trolley.
My previous statement remains.
Straight up.
But it only carries one person. There's no room in the back for people.
Oh no, you would have to modify it for two.
You know what you got there? You got a bus. That's what you're talking about.
Well, you put rear facing chairs on the dashboard. The driver looks through their legs.
And their legs hang over the steering column, and you crash because you can't see.
And they're singing like Puff the Magic Dragon while you drive.
This is a mystical place you've entered.
Yeah, man. If you...
These are magic cakes, they are.
I bet... Oh, man. 148 of these were made. Dude, think about how big fucking Helms Bakery was to have 148 of these dumb little things made. That's a bunch.
Yeah.
I
agree with you.
It's enormous. Yeah. Accompanied by delightful accessories.
I mean, they clearly took a truck frame and then put a trolley on it.
Let's see. Could keep going down. Flat nose vans. Okay, wait here. Twin coach of Kent, Ohio, to produce 148 of these vans. A stout Hercules 4-cylinder engine, while wooden cabinets in the back house delivery items. I mean, it's probably just like a square ladder frame of some kind, right?
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty pimp. I mean, that is like a real billionaire's toy.
It really is. And they drive around their housing division and bring out and deliver cookies. That's what it's for. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if their daughter is doing Girl Scout cookies, you're just crushing in this.
Yeah. You deliver
rolling around Bel Air.
You're like, oh, well, we needed a vehicle to deliver the cookies because our normal vehicles wouldn't do such a thing. So we bought this. Isn't it fun?
I'm pretty sure Sang has one though. Like there was one at the Helms Bakery. I don't know if it runs or anything, but like there was one there.
Okay.
So like Sang may actually have one, and if he does have one, he might be the kind of person who would make it run so that he can go drive around in it.
This one looks museum quality. So maybe I could see if he bought the Helms building, there was one just included. It
was like inside.
Yeah. Like
there's another one in the furniture store there. It's called HD Buttercup. It's like a big furniture store in LA that's like right next to that building. There's one of these inside there too.
Because you can use it as a closet in your house.
Yeah. Well, now that they know what it's worth just keeping in there.
I think the market can only support maybe 4 of these. You know, you put too many of these on the road in this condition, this market's going to tank.
Well, you certainly wouldn't want to sell them in the same decade.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
Well, because you know what happens in the collector car market, right? You get one big hit. You know, you have one car comes to market, an unexpected big sale. You know, the first
Skyline.
Yeah, the first Skyline to cross 1 million or whatever, right? And then the next year there's like 6.
Yeah.
And then they come back down 25%. Yep. So, but are there enough of these for that to be a concern? I don't think so. Because $246,000 means that multiple people were interested in this. If one of these came up, you know what I mean? Like,
there's only one person. It'd be like $10.
The opening bid wasn't $245. You know, so anyway, Helms Bakery, Cars and Coffee, Johnny and Sang, and of course I'm going to be there. I've decided to bring something that's not my car. I'm going to bring the car that we were just talking about earlier, like 20 minutes ago before the show started.
The one that's in the front right now?
The one? No, not Rick Ross.
Yeah.
No, the other car, the gold car downstairs. Doesn't matter.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring that.
Cool.
That'll be different, interesting. So anyway, that's Helms Bakery in Culver City, 8 to 10 a.m., and there's going to be coffee and probably food. Come on down.
I will be out of the state. That's why I won't be there.
Yeah.
Just want people to know.
Also, I got a text this morning from our friend at Porsche who was driving a U.S. specified 992.2. We've only driven Euro spec cars so far. U.S. spec cars, a bunch of the ADAS features. Guys, got to take a quick break because today's support comes from DeleteMe. They're making it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everybody vulnerable. You put your data out there. It's not your fault. It's really not. You bought a thing online. You wanted that Rainbow Bright doll off of eBay. You wanted a car somewhere. You wanted a ticket to a concert. And then what do? They turn around, they sell your data, and now you're getting spam, you're getting all kinds of garbage phone calls and texts, and now you need to get rid of that information. Take back your data. So DeleteMe, it's a service, right? You sign up. You give them all the information that you want taken off of these data broker websites, and then they go to work. You don't hear from them for a little bit. They come back and they go, I found these hundreds or possibly thousands of instances of your information on these sites. Here's what we've deleted automatically. Here's ones you need to like approve for us to delete. And then these ones like we can't do, but you can fill out this form and have it done yourself. And then every month they keep working for you, sending you more reports and keeping all these new instances of your data off of these websites. It's awesome. And if you are tired of the spam, you're tired of the calls and texts, you're tired of the idea that your privacy isn't private, you want DeleteMe. And we can give you 20% off of your DeleteMe plan. When you go to joindeleteme.com/tire and then use promo code TIRE at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/tire and then use promo code TIRE at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/tire and enter code TIRE at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/tire, code TIRE. And thank you to DeleteMe for sponsoring today's episode. Also brought to you today from Factor, loving the Factor. If your problem is time, energy, or just really any reason for not eating healthy, gourmet, nutritious meals this year, right? Factor's your solution. They've got dietitian approved, ready to heat and eat in 2-minute meals so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for an active, busy lifestyle. They've got the keto meals. They've got the Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, the chef selections. All this stuff is delicious. They've sent us so much food. We've tried everything from pasta dishes to protein and veggies to breakfast to smoothies, grab and go snacks, everything. You can refresh your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. My problem is I don't schedule time in my day for eating. And then when I finally get time to eat, I'm actually like too hungry, and then I make bad decisions. I eat whatever's around. It may not be healthy. I eat whatever I can get quickest, may not be healthy. I don't want to cook. Cooking's the healthiest option, etc., etc. Factor, when it's here, I can heat it up quick, 2 minutes in the microwave, and then I'm having a healthy snack. I'm back on my game, and you can too. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring today's episode. And now let's get back to it. U.S. spec cars, a bunch of the ADAS features stay off. Like if you turn them off, they'll stay off with restarts.
Oh, cool.
Including all of the really annoying ones.
Great.
Like all the lane keep, steering intervention bullshit, like emergency braking, rear blind spot detection, shit like that.
I like that feature. Yeah.
The stuff that really doesn't bother most people. The steering shit.
Yeah.
Is what bothers most people.
Well, because the rear thing doesn't matter when you're going forward. It never interrupts how you're driving. Yeah, great.
But like, he just wanted to be clear that not every ADAS feature can be turned off and kept off with every restart, but the most annoying ones can.
Cool.
So you can, or fear not, order your US spec 992.2s. And the things I said about the ADAS in the European cars will only 30% apply to you.
It'd be funny if someone out there is screaming right now because they bought a 992.1 after your video. They were like, this is the last one with no ADAS.
Last one with no ADAS. No! Yeah. So that's good news, right? Mm-hmm. What? Okay. After we talked about the Mark Rober video yesterday.
Yes.
Which was 2 days ago. Sorry, it was actually 2 days ago.
It happened 2 days ago. We talked about it on the show. Neither of us had watched the video at that point.
Right.
We were reacting in real time, basically.
Yes.
And then we both went home and watched the video in its entirety.
Correct. I think there are a couple things that possibly could be considered. I don't know Mark Rober first. Is he like, you've watched his videos?
I've watched 3 of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do people look at him as a scientist?
Yeah, because I think he's an engineer by trade.
Okay.
I think did he work at NASA? Let me look real quick.
Like, they're holding him to a scientific standard?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, if that's the case,
He worked at NASA before he did his YouTube channel. Well, he started making viral videos while at NASA. So, yeah, engineer by trade of what I would call a high degree.
All right. So in that case, I think there are a couple problems with the video. One is the title. I think it's irresponsible to have 65 million subscribers and even imply a Tesla is a self-driving car. I think that's a problem. I know why he would do it.
Sure, yeah.
Makes absolute sense why he would do it. I still really disagree with the use of that. And I think there's probably 20 different ways to write a great title to this video that don't refer to a Tesla as a self-driving car. Particularly a Tesla that he admits is not using FSD. Right. So it's not even, it doesn't even meet Tesla's standard of self-driving car.
Right. Very true, yeah.
Which is a bullshit standard.
And like his title is the most broad-reaching, attractive thing to the masses. But I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
And the fact that he didn't use it in FSD, which we'll get to, but you call it SD, essentially.
If your credibility is based on being a scientist, then I don't think misleading titles are to your benefit, even if your job is entertaining 65 million people.
True. Especially when the crowd of people that will come in support of Tesla.
Yeah.
With merit or without, I don't like. There's a lot of minutia in that, but if they find a problem, a single small problem in your methodology, it's going to get exploited, magnified, etc.
Right.
So you really need to be buttoned up.
Right, and the other one is, he was using autopilot and not FSD.
Right.
Now, I don't actually think that in a practical sense it makes any difference at all for this test. They both use the same cameras and sensors, and the cameras don't get more powerful because of FSD. They just don't. And in either sense, the car should have had automatic emergency braking, which did not activate.
Because in this test, if you haven't watched the video, they do a couple things before they crash through the wall. And we should talk about the wall also. But they did tests like putting a mannequin running out into the road like a kid. And it did not always stop in time, which that would be automatic emergency braking. Right. So
those I think are the actual problems with the video. He didn't use the latest available car software, or at least one of the most recent, thing that they're selling, right? That's one problem. And then he called it a self-driving car. Those are my only real problems with what Mark did in the video.
I would add that, and he would probably do this in hindsight, is, there's a lot of quick cuts in the video because that's how you make a video exciting. I think when you're doing stuff like this, having a camera that stays locked on the dash screen to show people it's in autopilot and then it clicked off. He had to explain later, here's the raw video. You have to kind of do a follow-up to explain it.
If it was the smoking tire, it would be 3 cameras synced together and you would see them all at the same time.
Because then it's just basically
sure, but I don't. I'm not trying to say. I think that other than those 2 oversights from my perspective, and I'll give you that one I think might be with doing a single cut. I would probably want to show it uncut, but again, 65 million views, and you understand why he would have done it in a way. I don't really agree, but I could kind of maybe give him that one. In general, though, I think this entire video is made in 100% good faith.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything that looked like shenanigans at all. The criticisms that we saw in the comments about the thing being, it looked like he crashed into the wall twice. Horseshit. He cut the shape so it looks like the fucking cartoon.
Exactly. To not understand that is ridiculous. Or maybe cartoons have changed and you don't crash through walls, but that is straight out of Looney Tunes. Yeah. And it's pre-cut, obviously.
And then the autopilot disengaging 17 seconds before the wall. either
milliseconds, right?
17 frames. Excuse me, not
Frames, which
seconds.
is
Excuse me,
less than a
17
second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
17 frames is two-thirds of a second.
Depends how many frames per second
That's
you're
a
shooting
very
that
good
for.
point. Very good point. Very good point. I assume if someone was counting frames, then they know how many frames per second it was.
We
But-
shoot 30 frames. It's pretty standard on YouTube, so that's half a second.
Yeah. So that either says a couple things. One, he, did sort of what a natural human reaction might do, which is panic, hit the brakes there, or touch the wheel in a way that he maybe shouldn't have done. Or the car disengaged right before in order to be able to provide some air cover to saying, well, it was not engaged at the time of the impact.
Right. And he said in his Twitter post, I believe, like he did not hit the brake. It did this. And
Yeah.
I saw comments supporting that argument saying, I saw someone said, I have a Tesla. It was exiting an off-ramp once, and it got confused, so it just disengaged. And that's why they say you have to be paying attention all the
Yeah.
time. But as we've talked about, it's been shown to do that before accidents, and it may be to prevent lawsuits from sticking because they
Right.
go, well, autopilot wasn't engaged.
Well, I've read lawsuits where it's both ways. I've read lawsuits where they accuse the car of disengaging right before in order to say it wasn't engaged. I've also seen ones where the driver panic brakes or panic tries to steer, is unable to avoid an accident, and then they say, well, it wasn't engaged. The driver disengaged. And it's like,
because if you move the wheel, it will probably disengage.
right, like if it's about to have an accident, you're going to do what you can do to avoid an accident. You
Right.
may successfully avoid the accident, you may not. But if you can't avoid the accident that the software sets you on a literal collision course for, and they go, well, it wasn't engaged at the time of the accident. Well, fucking no shit. I was trying to save myself. Of course it wasn't engaged. So
Yeah.
it's like
True.
They've given themselves all these if-thens
Right.
that always end at it's the driver's fault. So I don't know. I found the video to be made in good faith, and I found the Forbes article that criticized it to be in some ways a quote valid criticisms. In which case, one, the full self using autopilot rather than full self driving. But again, I think the argument doesn't change the outcome of the video at all.
Yeah, I mean, the Forbes article was kind of light on acknowledging the successes the other car had versus the Tesla car. So, like, people seem very focused on this was using autopilot, not FSD. Therefore, the argument is completely dissolved, which I think, like, what do they do? 5 different tests, right? Like,
I think the test is also more about LiDAR versus camera only.
Right.
It's not about that Volvo isn't marketed as a self-driving car.
Yeah.
That's a Volvo with a LiDAR system on it. It's not. This isn't about, is one of these a self-driving car and is the other one. The
Right.
test is camera versus LiDAR.
Right.
And so using autopilot versus FSD it fully qualifies for a camera-only test.
that's true. I don't know enough about the difference in programming and whatever between FSD, autopilot, and, like, their radar cruise control. Like, I just don't. So maybe that's where some of the crowd's criticism comes from. But they did a lot of tests of, like, person walking in the roadway in daytime. Nighttime, they did a water test, right? The headlight the brightness of the semi-trucks obscuring the cameras and fucking with them, which the Tesla passed, which was impressive. And then, of course, detecting the wall. But it only got 2 out of 5 tests the Tesla successfully did? Or was it
The
3 out of
Tesla
5?
did 2 out of 5. It did the
Successfully.
blinding lights, and it did the I don't know. It did one of the other ones. I forget which.
I'll try
The
to
kid
find
running. The kid running out.
It
I
stopped
think it
for
was
that
the
one.
kid running out that it stopped for. But if it was us, I would have put a gauge cluster cam, and I would have put a pedal cam to demonstrate that I'm not touching the pedals. But, like, nevertheless, I think it's a good faith video.
Yeah, I agree.
Other than the title, which drives me insane. But he's not the only person that does that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the Chevelle that you were driving this morning?
Yeah, sure.
Guys, support for the Smoking Tire comes from the podcast Drive with Jim Farley. You know Jim Farley. He's the CEO of Ford. Not only that, this guy has a GT40 and a Cobra and all kinds of amazing vintage American metal that he races wheel to wheel at places like Goodwood. He's a boss, and you got to check out this show. It's where Jim talks to some of his favorite people about what they drive and what drives them to succeed. They just started season 3 with some sick new guests, including Vicky Butler Henderson, the British racing driver and fifth gear personality, Randy Nonnenberg from Bring a Trailer, and T-Pain, the musician turned drifter. The guy's got skills, actually. I listened to it the other day. It is great. Jim is a great interviewer. He's insightful, and it's interesting hearing these folks open up to him. I really am about it. I support Jim's venture here. To listen to Drive with Jim Farley, just search Drive with Jim Farley in any podcast app. That's Drive with Jim Farley, and thank you for supporting this episode. And then I just had a quick spin in.
Drive. Where's my picture? Here we go.
It is a
1970 Chevelle. This is built by a company in Bakersfield, California called Ironworks. They've been around for over 20 years, but this car is the third car in what they call Legacy Series, I believe. So basically, it's their most expensive line of cars. They've done a lot of stuff. They have done some 7-figure cars for like one-offs for that people compete in, like Riddler Award or stuff like that. And they've also done cheaper muscle car parts and custom builds and things like that. But this is a very expensive car.
But like you could call them and pick a color and get this.
Yeah.
Say, I want a Legacy Series
totally.
Chevelle, and this is basically what you get in your choice of color.
And you can send them a donor car if you want. And there's a lot of customization and things you could choose from. But what's interesting is like the first two cars, the first one was a Buick 442. The second one, I think, was a 70 Chevelle, but with a vinyl roof. So it's like the Legacy Series, and they're all G-body cars, but
it's like any G-body car because they're all basically the same.
Exactly. Yeah. They're all pretty much the same car.
Dude, sidebar. Sure. Right now, TST Book Club, a lot of people have been asking me about books. I really should make the whole list, but this month's book, on a clear day, you can see General Motors. The John DeLorean didn't want it to come out book. Bro, he just flamethrowers the entire fucking executive floor of GM. I understand why he wouldn't. Halfway through the 70s, he's like, oh shit, I need money to build this DeLorean. I better fucking not burn every bridge I've got.
Oh,
and he didn't want this thing to come out because he was about to be like, fuck you, I'm out.
It's all about everything they did wrong. And
it's just like his hit piece on the inside workings of General Motors while he was there. And
that's probably pretty interesting.
I'll give it to you when I'm done.
Sure,
it's fucking wild.
Did they ever talk about door cards and the complexity of that and why they feel so cheap?
I mean, he basically admits they're selling exactly the same car from the late 50s through like the middle 70s.
That's great. Yeah, not a lot changed. That's very
so
true.
Anyway, if you can get it, used somewhere, buy it. Don't get it on Amazon, but get it somewhere else. But I'll give you my copy.
That's a good thing to bring up because I mean, this car is very expensive, and they did try to engineer as much Detroit out of it as possible, like doors and things like that, things that rattle, although there are some things that sound a little weird once you're moving. It's got a supercharged LT4. It's got a bigger blower on it. It's got a built transmission, IRS, which is pretty interesting. I mean, they do a chassis that's supplied to them that they customize a bit. It's got, I think, JRI shocks on it.
JRZ
shocks, sorry.
Okay.
JRZ shocks, remote reservoir. Big Willwoods, like there's a lot of stuff done, and they cut like the entire floor out of the car and drop the seats. Like they do a ton of metal fabrication, and that's a good thing because this car costs a lot of money. What we learned on the drive is that there are some refinements that are needed. There's some choices that were made that are not what I would choose. It has manual brakes. I would go power brakes. So the owner said that the owner does track work and does some club racing things. He wanted manual brakes to have like the connection to driving. Sure, I get it, but this car is 4,150 pounds. And like I drove this car pretty quick in the Canyon stay, but definitely well below what I've driven any modern car. And slowing this thing down when it's like just getting off a very 800 pound-feet of torque, like I'm using a lot of leg muscle. Like I don't do legs every other day, but I do it enough, and like it requires a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And the other thing I didn't like about it is that the suspension is really stiff. I think it's the damping. I think it's just a couple clicks wrong. So when you jump on the brakes, there's almost no dive in the nose. Same way, like I know you drove around here, but in the corners, there's very little lean. There's very little body roll. So it sticks like a motherfucker, but you don't have the communication of grip left.
Yeah.
And you don't have the communication of how well am I stopping other than like looking at the rate of deceleration.
Yeah.
It's just there's not a lot of sensory feedback on the momentum of the vehicle, cornering or stopping.
When you have heavy cars and then you have hardware designed to make those heavy cars stay flat, what you end up with is a car that responds quickly,
Yes.
but also runs out of both feel and talent quickly because you don't have that gray area between grip and slip or where you're loading up the nose to find out how hard you're braking.
Right. And this is very agile because of the stiff springs and everything else.
Yeah.
Like you can adjust your corner, mid-corner, like modern sports cars can. I mean, it's really impressive with the steering rack is quick, the big front tires are wide, but they don't actually tramline on the highway, which is fantastic. Like, there's some really good things about that, but you don't get any of that communication because it's so stiff.
Yeah. I just drove it for 10 minutes around here. I have to say I didn't love it. I liked certain elements of it. It felt like it was built well by muscle car standards. Not the best I've seen, but pretty good. The seats were comfortable. I liked the steering wheel and the shifter and the seating position.
The ergonomics
was nice.
of it are really good.
Were pretty good.
Yeah.
Obviously, it sounds great. But the gearbox is like a Tremec of some
T56,
kind, right? Yeah, it's a Tremec.
Like a custom one, yeah.
But you know, so many cars have a Tremec that if I tell you, oh, it's a T56, like you know what the shifter feels like.
Totally.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
Good shifter.
Yep.
But like, there was some the steering. I did a couple corners, just highway on ramp. When you're in the corner and like you said, making those adjustments, it was good. But on center, going from 5 degrees left to 5 degrees right, like what's happening there? Like there is something very, very strange happening right there. And then it's got a tilt steering wheel. As you tilt it from up Helms Bakery truck down to Formula
GT
One car,
right.
GT car, that actually changes the steering ratio.
Oh, I didn't adjust the wheel at all.
Yeah, the angle of the wheel changes how it steers, which is weird as hell.
Well, so when you brought it back, when I was driving, so I had to go look for parking to go to lunch, which actually was great because I had to do a lot of slow maneuvering and a lot of center to 90. And I told the owner of the shop 3 days ago, like, hey, this does something weird from off center to let's call it steering on center. But maneuvering around the neighborhood today, the column was actually like moving up and down slightly. I think something's loose in this column that they installed. So it needs some tightening up there.
Okay.
Because that is a weird
maybe
situation.
something is broken,
Hopefully.
but it didn't. It wasn't.
I agree.
I wouldn't call that good.
No.
Certainly not.
It was a little disconcerting.
Yeah. And then the pedal spacing, you can't heel toe.
No,
the brakes, the power brakes, in my opinion, are mandatory for a 4,000-pound car with 800 horsepower. Every fast car I've ever driven that didn't have power brakes, most of which were driven by built by Bisimoto, who I love and who gives me shit about my choices as like I give him about his choices all the time because he's building like a lunatic EVs now. But every fast car I've ever driven that didn't have power brakes was awful. I mean, they have good power brakes now. I just don't get.
And I think their only benefit is if it's a race car where you are always decelerating at your highest rate.
Sure.
And therefore the G-forces of slowing down are pushing you into that brake pedal even more. Like that's the only time I go, okay.
And if it is,
but
it's not a 4,000-pound car.
Yeah,
4,000-pound race cars have power brakes.
Yeah, true.
I've driven them. They do. Little Formula cars that are 800 pounds have manual brakes.
Yeah.
Or rally cars that are going sub 50 miles an hour where you're left foot braking, and that's the thing.
Now they might have wanted to keep the engine bay really clean and not have a big booster, but now you have I think the aftermarket has electric powered boosters that are much smaller. So if you can give it some electrical current and use that instead of having a giant brake booster, then you keep everything tidy, but you also get the benefit of power brakes.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I hope there's a modern solution to these brakes so that they feel more like modern car, brakes than old ass Chevelle brakes.
Right.
And then the last one was, although the throttle response in gear, if you 2,500 RPM, you roll in the throttle, roll off it, roll back on it again, like that response is pretty good. But blipping a downshift, the throttle response is awful.
It's really slow.
It's so slow.
I think is it bigger blower situation, you think?
It could be, but it doesn't spin up. It's got no response.
So the blower on this is 2.7 liter, and the stock LT4 blower is 1.7. So it might be a lot bigger and therefore has more inertia and just has to spin up. The other thing...
and then the clutch.
What,
the clutch is a different story. No, this made no sense to me. If you put the clutch to the floor, put it in first gear, you lift off the clutch, the first inch or two off the floor, you can feel it catch and the car starts to inch forward.
Yeah.
But so that's where your friction zone starts, right? And the friction zone ends when you're fully engaged, right? It's all the way up here.
Yeah. It feels like there's two friction zones.
The friction zone is the entire length of the clutch pedal travel.
Yeah, it's weird.
Why does it catch so low but not let go until the very top?
Well, and it made it hard to drive up the ramp. The guys were saying this too. Like you start to slip the clutch out, and you think you're underway and you can let the clutch out all the way, but then there's almost a second catch point, and because there's so much torque, like I did this starting from a stop sign, not on a hill, and it would chirp. Yeah. Because it was getting another sudden dose of torque that was getting sent to the wheel. Yeah. So tuning that, I guess you can tune a clutch or tune the friction point because the clutch has 400 miles on it or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I all I can tell you is what the car did, not what's wrong, but it was weird. So the elements are there, but it's all none of it felt confidence inspiring at all.
Yeah, the bones and I do want to say nice things because I did like parts of it. It felt like a muscle car. And it was exciting in that way because I like that shit from high school. It had a lot of attitude. It looks cool. And, the seating position's great. They got rid of all the cheap interior shit. The whole dash now is milled aluminum or it's carbon fiber, and it feels really solid. The door cards are all leather and, billet aluminum. The things you don't see have been attended to, which is kind of the hard thing about cars like this, though. When you get to this price point, unless you know that stuff, you might not notice it. You have to really know Chevelles or honestly interact with every single thing and maybe A/B compare before you'll go, oh, wow, this door card feels a lot better or this door doesn't rattle like a bucket of bolts like the old ones did. Yeah. So it's whereas Singer, Singer attends to all those things also, but you usually know as soon as you look inside. It's very obvious. This is very clean, but it's just black. It's got nice badging and stuff, and all that stuff has been milled from aluminum. Yeah. But you won't really know unless you start touching stuff.
And things being handmade, and bits that were plastic being replaced with an identical bit that's metal, that kind of stuff costs a ton of money, and so you can tell where the cost of that adds up. Yeah. But for the price of this, which is high six figures, it needs to be everything. Yeah. It needs to be 100%. There's not we can't be talking about the steering's weird. We can't be talking about stuff like that. Right. This should be fucking extremely dynamic for that kind of money.
It should, and I'm optimistic. The owner of the shop wanted to hear all the feedback, and they're it seems like he wants to do the right thing and build the best car possible. Yeah. And so this is stuff some of it is suspension refinement. It could be valving in the shocks, or it could just be as simple as reducing compression and rebound a little bit because it's just too stiff right now. Because on high frequency bumps and cracks and things, it's really stiff. Mm-hmm. But when you hit rollers mid-corner, it's actually really good. So I go, okay, well, I think it's just too stiff on those high-frequency compressions, high-speed compression. Yeah. But on low-speed stuff, it's fine. So some of it, I hope, is adjustable or at least fixable. I like where the steering column lives so much But this on center thing is a problem. So hopefully,
Yeah, no,
that
I
stuff can be
liked
fixed.
how it felt in my hand,
Yeah.
but like having the steering change because of the angle, that's weird.
That's very weird. Yeah, I
that's
didn't mess
really
with the tilt column at all because it was where I liked it.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it seems like it's like this is the R&D car or something, and they need to smooth these things out before they send it out.
Yeah, and because Chevelles start at such a lower point than say 911s.
Yes.
Like
This was a big thing I thought about today is you are starting with a worse product. You're starting with a body. I mean, no disrespect.
Yeah.
Like you're starting with a body
disrespect.
on frame. Yeah.
You're starting with a product that was built so badly, the fucking executive in charge of it wrote a tell-all book. That's what we're
He
dealing
did
with
cocaine
here.
and he got real honest.
Let's
in
be
front of a
honest, these are
typewriter.
shit piles. Yeah. A stock Chevelle is a terrible, terrible thing.
What's so interesting to me about muscle cars is that the driveline can feel absolutely indestructible and is in many cases overbuilt. Like they have axles and transmissions back then that people would kill for to put on their Wrangler project today, right? They're like, I put Dana 44s on it.
Yeah, like a Muncie or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Muncie 21. You'd be like,
didn't they have a transmission called a Rock Crusher?
Yes, they
at one
did.
point?
Exactly. They had stuff like that. But everything around the car was like made like Temu before Temu existed. But so your starting point is junk and body on frame.
Yeah.
So you can spend so much time and money addressing those things. Whereas if you are modifying a Porsche, the unibody's great. You don't need to fuck with it. You can then you can spend time setting up suspension perfectly, setting up the way these tangible things feel perfectly.
Yeah. Well, your horsepower costs all the money.
Well, that's true. This is a crate engine LT4.
Yeah, an
blower,
LT4, an LT4 don't cost fucking nothing compared to a Gunther or a Singer engine or even even a BBI built 3.8 or something. Yeah. That's a fucking $70,000 engine.
Stuff like this is hard because I feel like I can have a really good time in a muscle car that costs $5,000.
Yeah.
Or you can get in something like the Revology, which costs half as much as this.
Yeah.
I will say, when I drove the Revology, I liked it, and the drivability was a 10 out of 10. I went, if I close my eyes, this feels like a new Mustang.
It doesn't feel like a new Mustang, but it feels a lot better than an old one.
It feels very close to one, and I do feel like it lacked some of the character that muscle cars have. This had all that, but with a modern engine. But it also had these other like little issues that you have to address for this amount of money.
I think with muscle cars, it's all about expectations. You buy a cheap one, your expectations are pretty low.
Very true.
And it's pretty easy for the car to exceed them. When you're buying something for this kind of money, your expectations have to be very high. And I mean, granted, if something like this is tailor-made and the customer that this is built for, if it's exactly what they want, fucking great.
Right.
But you're lending it out, like
right. There's decisions that were made by the owner.
I
not
hear
the shop
this a lot.
like,
We hear this all the time. We drive a custom car from a talented group of people, and they go, "Listen, the customer said we wanted this, and the customer said they wanted that, and we wouldn't have done it that way." And this is why, shout out to Jonathan Ward, when it comes to how the thing drives, he'll put some weird ass leather or whatever the guy's daughter wants. I want Palomino, like have at it, whatever. But when it comes to the mechanics and how they drive, like he won't let this kind of shit out the door. He'll tell people no to their face. I like that.
I do. I think with this also though highlights for me, and I experienced this with the Grand Wagoneer too. Like the Grand Wagoneer built by Vigilante, like they're on truck, I don't know, they've made like a few dozen, right? John's made how many? Hundreds of Broncos. He's been
over 100.
So he is like at the very front of this. Him and Singer and Rod Emery, like they've been doing it a long time. They've done all the R&D. Like they really know how to do things. And Vigilante and shops like this Ironworks thing, like they're starting that journey to try to crack into that kind of market. But they haven't learned all the stuff. And the advantage of Revology is they go, we make one car. Yeah. And they tear the whole thing apart, and they know exactly how it fits together. And that really shows in how fucking solid those things feel. Because this is different than the car number 2, which is different than car number 1. And then like a few years ago, they made a 32 Roadster that cost all the money. Yeah. But like that's a completely different vehicle. Yeah. So
remember Alfa Romeo a couple years ago? All of a sudden their QC went from
Very
like
good point.
dead last to fucking, near the top.
Yeah.
Why? Oh, well, instead of making every car tailor-made to spec,
Right.
we now have 4 variants, pick. And all of a sudden, because they didn't have to make every single car different,
Yeah.
they were able to have some kind of equality.
I think if Ironworks is able to keep going on this path, I hope they get to that point. And I do want to end on some good things. Drivability of this, if they fix the steering issue, is really high. Like you could daily this car because the engine works. The turning radius is as good as my M3, which doesn't make any sense with 285 tires. But like, I'm telling you, dude, you can U-turn on a 2-lane road. It's crazy.
Now I think I know how to. It feels like it drives like it has an angle kit on it.
It does.
That's what it drives like.
It drives like that, but it doesn't have an angle kit.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
that's that on center wonkiness. The last time I felt that was in a drift car with an angle kit.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder if it has giant.
I don't know.
But I like that for doing U-turns in the canyons and stuff.
For
Compared to some old
photography,
cars
it's
I've driven,
exceptional,
or
yeah.
like a Crown Vic, it was really good at that. So if they can just fix those little things, the owner should be very happy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be shitty about it. It does. I mean, look, by muscle car standards, it's built very nicely. It looks great. It sounds great. It clearly it goes fast. I went through a couple gears. It goes fast.
Yeah.
It just it felt unfinished. And try again. Let's try again later. Should we go to the people? It's time to go to the people.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Is it
wow,
already?
it's 45
It
minutes.
is.
You're
It's
right.
time to go to the people. And I'm out of things on my list anyway. I did, dude. I this morning, I'm really trying to be a really good cat dad. Especially because Hannah's not here, especially because I was out of town.
Are you worried you're not a good cat dad?
No, but I'm trying to be an exceptional cat dad. When you have 4, you can't just come home from work and then not play with them and engage with them. So we're having outside time for an hour, lots of play, and then today I was like, I want to try this. So I put on cat TV for the first time.
Okay.
On YouTube, live. 24/7.
What is on cat?
It's birds. It's birds. It's birds flying in and birds flying into a scene and feeding.
Do the cats jump at the screen?
So the first thing I did was in my living room, and I turned it on, and within 30 seconds, all 4 cats are sitting there staring at the screen. Monty's trying to jump, the unit that we have made.
Yeah.
Monty's jumping up on that. I'm like, oh shit, Hannah's got her collectible toys there. So I clear all the collectible toys out. I'm like, cat can't fall. So a couple more minutes, they're watching, the birds are coming. And then Finn jumps up there, and Finn's my biggest boy. He jumps up there. And now
You probably killed the TV.
He's now pawing at the TV. That's it. 24/7 live cat TV, no ads.
I mean, center cards just birds and squirrels.
That's it.
Okay.
That's the whole shit, dude. And I go, okay, no, I can't have it on a TV that the cats can touch, that they can get to, right? So I turn it off. It had only been on for 3 minutes. I turn it off. All 4 cats just slow turn and stare at me like, what the fuck? What
are you, a monster?
Yeah.
Why would you take away such joy?
They looked at me like I said, okay, guys, it's time to get fed to the lions. They looked at me like, what? Dad, we were
Turn it back on. We were
watching.
They're like us when we were kids. When you're like, we're almost done with that show.
Yeah. So all right, calm down. So I go in my bedroom where the TV's up higher and it's on the wall. And there's a unit or a little table basically under the TV. So I move the table out 5-6 feet back from the TV. So it's basically halfway between my bed and the wall where the TV is. And I put a blanket on the thing and I put the cat TV on there. I don't think it took 90 seconds before all cats were in the bedroom. And I'm kind of concerned. It's a beautiful day out. They can go out to the catio. I think I will have been gone for 7 hours, and I'm going to go home at 4 o'clock, and I think Monty's just going to be sitting there fucking zombie-eyed staring at the TV.
It's like a kid addicted to the iPad. Wow, this is an interesting experiment. Oh, my God. Because it's just activating their, like, I need to kill that thing, but I can't get to it.
So on the one hand, like, you know, if you read, you know, on like Reddit, like, you know, cats or whatever, if you live in an apartment or if you live somewhere, you know, long winters or whatever, darkness, you know, it is enriching for a cat. Like it's not bad for the cat, but like my cats have like a beautiful outdoor area. There's birds and squirrels and all kinds of shit for them to see, like, for real. Like, can I accidentally turn these cats into fucking crackheads, like TV
Look,
crackheads?
man, there was a time, like, I love mountain biking, and I grew up across from a trail. Like, I could have gone and played in the creek. But once a PlayStation, or a Sega, rather, arrived at my house, my parents were like, we need to restrict this child. Yeah.
That was the end.
We had to do chores during video game time. Our house was clean.
Yeah. We're gonna see what happens. I'll let you know what happens when I get home today.
Take a picture.
If Monty is still
For real.
still
Or like, will you video
there.
when you walk in? Just when you
to
walk
see
in the
if they're
door,
there?
just to see if you catch them. I want to see that picture.
Coming in the door might interrupt them. Like it may, you know. If I sneak in through the garage, then maybe I can.
If they're truly dedicated to this addiction,
Monty's
coming
really
in the door won't bother them.
Yeah, right.
They'll be disappointed you come home because they know you're going to turn it off.
Yeah, I'm gonna take them outside though when I get home.
They're not going to want to do that.
They don't want to really go outside. They're just gonna like.
It's like playing a skateboarding video game. Your parents are like, go skateboard outside. But this is different.
But
I could fall down out there.
I can do a 1080.
Very true.
Kickflip here. Of course, let's go to the Patreon. Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast, the best website in the world. You can ask us questions for the show, watch us live, catch us before everybody else. In fact, patrons already have episode 999 up in their feed with a special guest. That was pretty fun. And get an extra show every month, and on and on and on. And now we get to take their questions. The Smoldering Wheel says, helping my dad find a nice weather daily driver for the summer. He's in his 60s and wants a sub 30K GT car. Doesn't want the hassle of a stick, wants reasonably reliable, although I fear he fits into the Corvette owner stereotype a little too well. A C6 does seem like an obvious choice. Anything else that would perform as well or better in this area? Ooh, I hate to say it, but Corvettes are where you're at. But like 30K, you can get a 996 Porsche automatic. Nobody wants autos. If he wants an auto, they are out there and they are cheap. Mm-hmm. Right? And do the autos have IMS bearings? Or are those only manuals?
I don't know.
I think they do. I think they have IMS bearings, but yeah, C6 Corvette. You could also look at how about a BMW 6 Series used, or even possibly a BMW 8 Series used, a recent one. Or how about an Audi A5 convertible? Those are nice GT.
That is a nice car.
That's a nice GT car.
You can get S5 convertible too.
You could probably get an S5 convertible, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
I like those options because if he's really just grand touring, I think having a quieter engine or engine in the back is kind of a nice idea.
Or how about an Audi TT Roadster with a DSG?
Yes, but as we talked about recently, it's really hard to get parts for those cars.
Not like a very old one.
Oh, okay.
Like a 30K will get you one that's like, 2 years old or something.
That would be pretty nice.
Yeah. That would be
They
that.
didn't make a TTS Roadster, did they?
They did.
Remember the TTS? We took it to Spring Mountain and stuff?
Yeah.
That was a really good car.
Oh, that was a TT RS, and
right.
those are rad.
Yeah.
TT RSs are sick.
If he doesn't need a convertible, that's a good car.
Mm-hmm. William Ray says that we've complained about Porsche's 7-speed manual in the Carrera, saying that 6 speeds is the right number. Do you dislike the C7's 7-speed just as much? Yes. It is garbage too. Sloppy Toppy 5000 says, thoughts on Ferrari selling jizz hats?
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to see what a jizz hat is.
I had the same feeling, and I looked at the link, and I went, accurate description.
Oh, it looks, it is a trucker hat. It's red. It's got a Ferrari logo on it. And then it looks like you've either been, I would say it's either jizz or an albatross, except did you see the shorts?
Oh, no.
I don't think the jizz hat is the problem. I think the jizzed on shorts are the problem.
Well, this is like we're detectives and you go, oh, the shot came from over here.
Yeah, no, that's pretty bad.
It looks like ropes of white paint. Like an albatross would hit you with one big glob.
For those who want to fillet Lewis Hamilton, just get ahead of the game.
For those
now.
of you old enough, I'm just going to say Peter North. And you think he designed this hat.
Yeah, you have either been shat on by an albatross or
an albatross that ate
or
spicy
jizzed
curry.
on by a puma.
What do they say? They say
featuring bold, eye-catching graphics.
True.
That's all it says. Are there comments? Tell me there's comments on this page.
No, they wouldn't allow such a thing.
They've turned off comments.
I just wanted to know.
Wait, are there other jizz products, though? I mean, we saw the shorts.
Rain division.
Are those the jizz shorts? In that other outfit?
Those seem too dark. It seems like these.
No, those are just graphic. That's the T-shirt. No, there's no jizz on those. This is so dumb. Do they have jizz shoes, too? Yeah, they've got it. Go down to the
just head to toe it.
See, those are jizz shoes on the left, aren't they?
These? I think these are just
just a regular shoe.
Let's see. Let's zoom in.
And
those
no
are clean.
Jizz.
It didn't hit the floor. It's all in the hat.
Caught it on the brim.
I don't know what. And
That's crazy.
And I was expecting to see something that's like this is to honor the rain race of 2023.
Oh,
but I don't see that anywhere.
Do you think it is?
If it is, they need to put it in the box.
Yeah,
that needs
really
to be on the
do.
description yesterday.
That's really funny. Straight up, that's gross. Justin Hobbs bought an ND Miata and wants to get a vanity plate that says hard top, but worried it might be misconstrued.
No, I definitely won't go for it.
Not only will it not be misconstrued, if the word hard top isn't taken already in your state, that would be a miracle.
You're going to make so many friends.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Chris N. Liked the story about my cigar smoking alpha guy. Any other funny personalities you've ran into in the car scene, like any homeless looking guys driving crazy expensive cars? Magnus. Magnus is the biggest spread between homeless looking and expensive cars.
I saw a guy 2 days ago on the highway who was driving a yellow 550 Maranello, and the plate said 550M, of course. And he was just like an 85-year-old, just staring out the window.
He had to have gotten that plate probably when that car was new. I bet. Yeah. I mean, there's folks. There's like car dealer folks that are kind of moving and shaking, and then there's like.
I don't want to dismiss anyone's eccentricities either, like because people roll up sometimes looking in fashion I could never pull off nor think of, and then someone's like, "Oh, they design everything for Versace." I'm like, well, I'm not going to talk shit to them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I mean, most of the other notable personalities, let's just say, are not people I want to talk about publicly.
Correct.
Mainly because they're assholes.
Oh.
No, not because they're celebrities.
I know someone who
who
dresses very eccentrically but they work for a company that's well known, so I don't want to talk shit about them.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, and that's not who I'm talking about.
Got it.
I'm not talking about dress or anything like that. I don't care. It's L.A. Who gives a shit how anybody dresses? It's more just like the people who stand out they don't stand out because I want to hang out with them all the time. We have some great friends that we see in the canyons and at car things, but most of them are just regular folks that love cars. Bad Gardener has a 50-mile round-trip commute on highways and then does monthly weekend trips out of state. Thinking about used Kia Stingers for $25K. How stupid would it be to buy an old E55 Mercedes with cash on the side instead? W210, is that the first E55?
I think so.
Or the second?
W210.
I think that's the first one, right?
Yep,
the naturally aspirated one?
where the grill was a little too small for me, and yeah.
So here's the thing about those. I get it, but if you drive them, they're not particularly interesting. I mean, sort of just like all other Mercedes of this era, they're made really well. Yeah. They're comfortable. They're stately and all that things, like generally reliable if you buy one that's been cared for. What do they sell for? Cheap.
$8,000.
Really cheap.
Or less. we're on Cars and Bids. I mean, sold for, let's see,
There,
$8,300.
the top right, the white one, I would say is considered a great one. 49,000 miles, and that's 17 grand.
That's a very comfortable vehicle for that money. I would look at. I think you need to do the research on Kia Stinger reliability versus these, because we've had people in the chat before that were techs for Kia, and talk about how they have frequent problems when they get later in life. I would look at Consumer Reports.
If you asked me what car was more likely to last 35 or 40 years, an E55 or a Kia Stinger, I'd tell you an E55.
I totally agree with you. I think both of them, you're going to have like an inflection point where because the cost to maintain the Mercedes the parts cost will be higher, but it may have fewer issues. And the rest of the car may last longer than the Kia. I don't know.
I think these E55s are built pretty well.
Well, it's a simple engine, right? It's a
5.5 liter V8 non-supercharged.
Yeah, I can't remember the engine code. I used to know it. And it's like, it was a really simple, stout engine.
Yeah.
So it might last a pretty good amount of time. I like the Stinger, and it's a pretty good performance touring bargain as long as it's running cheaply.
Yeah. It's the M113 V8. It's not. I'll tell you what. If you don't need the back seat, I assume, because they're asking about Kia Stinger and E55. I assume they do, but if you don't, get an R129 SL 500 Sport instead, because at least that's like prettier and whatever.
Yeah.
And you could drive that for a couple of years for the cost of gas and maintenance if you keep it nice. That's what I would do. But I get it. But E55, same with the E500s before it. Mm-hmm. They were fast for like the 90s. Yeah. They're just like not that fast and not that interesting
and
today.
They have the bad 5-speed transmission that sucks. And I think the next gen E55 was way better looking. This was the infancy.
Yeah. Guitar Player 1999 is really struggling choosing a 911 paint choice. Well, there are a lot of them. Are there colors that we've seen in the real world that we've loved or hated? A lot.
I hate yellow. I almost universally dislike yellow.
Porsche has 3 or 4 yellows, and there's one I like. Speed yellow is the only one I like.
It's the richest one, I think.
Yeah, it looks the most like egg yolky.
Right.
That's my favorite one.
And it needs to be on certain cars.
Yeah. There's a guy I know with an air-cooled car who's the G-body car that is. It's great.
So that's the color that was on the roof CTR we drove, right?
Yes.
That was a good
That's
one.
lovely. But like that pale yellow is the worst.
Yes.
I love Dalmatian Blue. I love South Seas Blue Metallic. Obviously, Frozen Berry is my jam, and Cassis Red. I love what else do I love? I love some of the like GT Silver Metallic actually looks really good, a lot better than their like regular silver. They have like 7 great greens: oak green, aventurine, Goodwood green, which is what my dad's Cayenne is.
Gentian Blue's nice.
Oslo Blue is great. Moonstone is great. There's so many fucking
even
colors.
Ruby Stone, which I didn't like that much, and then when I drove that ST, I was like, this is actually pretty hot.
Yeah, but you can't get the white wheels and shit. White wheels on
white
wheels
are
no good.
Never.
Well, like that Boxster Style Edition that's Ruby Star with white wheels and white graphics. Yuck. That is no good.
No. But they did the Boxster America one, which is like red,
oh no,
blue,
the 911
right?
GTS America.
Is it GTS?
Yeah,
Okay.
That's the worst. Nothing should ever be called the America edition.
Wheel color choice is almost more important than body color, because like
white wheels.
There's just colors that red wheels are bad. I don't know.
Yeah. All-wheel drive biased, law, many words. What do you do at WCCS to prevent deterioration of vehicles while they sit for so long? What we do is, they're kept on battery tenders. We use fuel stabilizer if they're going to be sitting for a while, and we start them up and warm them up to operating temperature once a month, and we move them around so they don't get flat spots on their tires. We don't use those tire pad things. People have tried to sell us those tire pillows so many times. You need these tire pillows. Like, no, we move the cars around so you don't. Yeah.
You don't want your tire to feel comfortable? You don't want it to be
drive up onto
resting
a
on
pillow.
velvet?
I can't read that username. That username is Tim A. Do you think in the future all 911s will adopt double wishbone front suspensions? Interesting. You know, I don't think most drivers can feel the difference between a Struts front suspension and a double wishbone front suspension. I don't. I think if you're a racing driver or on the track or you've really driven a lot of Porsches, you can feel the difference. But if you've driven a couple 911s in your history of living and you get in one that's strut or double wishbone today, I don't think you feel the difference. I mean, there are differences, but like, I don't think it's as big a deal as a lot of people make it out to be. I mean, the strut, it's not. Did the 991.2 not handle well? Like, was that an ill handling car?
The GT3 is like a bus.
My Spider GT4 RS, like, do those not handle well?
I didn't want to tell you.
Yeah,
but
it sucks.
No, it's a great point. Yeah.
And so, I don't know what that means in terms of the structure of the car. If they'd have to change
This is true
the car.
I think average consumers will very rarely be able to feel the difference of over generations, like when they switch to solid mounted rear subframe or something like that with BMW. I mean, the dealerships might tell you if you're that customer. I had a friend of mine used to sell cars, and he's like, one thing I had to learn was some customers want to know X, and some, if you tell them that same information, will walk away because if you go too nerdy with one person, it might work.
Yeah. You
go as nerdy with the next customer, they might leave because they're either disinterested, they think you're talking down to them, they don't give a shit, whatever it might be. So that's the lesson.
Jim Kana, have we crossed the CarPlay Rubicon? There's so many older cars that came with bad infotainment but are otherwise attractive. Is there enough aftermarket support now that you should buy an older enthusiast model under the assumption it can be upgraded to a CarPlay unit at a manageable price? In most cases, yeah. I mean, your BMW, which basically means all 2000s BMWs.
Yep.
I think a lot of 2000s Mercedes. I don't know about Jag and Range Rover, but I mean, you know, as long as you can make your phone play sound out of your car, you know, you could have a dash mount and use the screen for your GPS. Like, your phone mounted on the dash isn't that different from CarPlay, to be honest with you.
You have like a 14 Pro or a 15 Pro X or something.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, what's important is the phone produces a signal that then comes out my speakers. Once we get there, that's all I really care about. But in there's a lot of ways to upgrade your old car to work with CarPlay. Mm-hmm. They got the flip outs, they got the small screens, we were just at I'll say. We were just at Jerry Seinfeld's place recording episode 999 yesterday, and he had, among a bunch of other dope shit, a mint condition, low mile, old Mercedes S-Class sedan from the 80s that had the Porsche CarPlay capable head unit put into it, which is a boss move. But it did work, you know. So Ryan Morris says, what crossover would be best suited to a manual gearbox in your opinion? Not sure why, but I feel like the X3M with a stick wouldn't be the worst thing. A Macan or an X3M, I think, would both be fine with a stick. It's funny, I'm not like motivated to want to drive those types of cars with a stick, though, you know?
Yeah, I think like the X1, I feel like it sat lower than the X3. Granted, it's an older car, but that was basically like so close to being a wagon, they should have just called it one, and that one suited the manual better in my opinion because it just seemed like a car. X3 is like drifting into tall SUV hatchback territory, in which case the ZF8 speed's not too bad. I mean, I don't know. If I was going to get an X3M with a stick, I would just get an M3 sedan.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, just get a car.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a hypothetical. I don't think he's actually talking about project carring it, but yeah. Miguel says, my dad is giving me his old Mazda B2000. That's a Ford Ranger. And I have a question on how to register it. He lives in California, but a part that requires smog only when selling it. And I live in a part of California that requires smog every 2 years. Is there a way I can take legal ownership while keeping it registered and not smog it? I suspect it won't pass. Well, if he has to sell it to smog it when he sells it, I guess if he sells it to you, he doesn't have to smog it because you're not going to narc on him for selling a car that won't pass.
Well, but if Miguel goes to register it,
well, for sure.
Then
yeah. Assuming it's not registered now, and assuming Miguel doesn't intend to register it for a long time, then it doesn't need to pass smog.
Right.
Because you're not gonna sue your dad for selling you a truck or giving you a truck that won't pass smog.
Right.
But like, I mean, what I would do is ask him if he would keep it registered in his own name and just let you have it, and then add your name as additional insured, or you get insurance on it, and I would do that.
That's the move.
You want the insurance needs to cover you. That's more important than who or where the truck is registered. Stu Dog, go down please. Stu Dog watched my video with Teddy Baldassar the other day. Please go check it out. Yeah, his eyes glazed. Yes, okay. Sorry, I should have read. There wasn't a question there. My name is Lane, but I identify as a street. What is the best tool or accessory to keep in your car?
I used to think jumper cables, which then led me to thinking battery, but I think my battery is stable enough that I would go plug-in or like battery-powered Fantic air compressor.
Yeah, tire inflator.
Tire pressures change more than we think, and we let them go far too long before we actually adjust them.
Yeah. If you can feel your car handling differently, your tire pressures are too low. Yeah, that portable Fantic tire inflator thing, I use all the time. That thing is good. Big Bad Cam Faz. I hope that doesn't mean something terrible. Thoughts on the new Morgan Supersport? When will you be coming over to the UK to have a go? I have not been invited to go have a go in the UK, but I am excited to see it when it gets here. I think it looks cool in some ways. I think it looks a little strange in other ways. I don't love that rectangle bit in the lower half of the front. I don't like that it's automatic only. It's not manual.
And I wish it had a different shifter from the BMW, but I've heard, I forget, I talked to a tech that said like to make a new shifter but using all the BMW software and computer chips in there is a massive pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And it cost them a lot of money.
Yeah. That was what Ineos said.
That's right. That's right.
Because they do the same thing. But in general, more Morgan is good. I will take all the Morgan they will give me. Paul says, craziest thing you've seen someone do at a gas station? Let's see. Oh, I mean, I was driving an Aventador back from Vegas with Thad and some, like, family in a Ford Taurus, like, hoarder car, loaded up, rolled up right next to me and said, how about you fill us up?
Oh.
And, like, meant it seriously.
Right.
And I was all, get the fuck out of here, yo. Okay.
I saw a man getting a mouth hug, but that was at a gym parking lot when I was sitting at a stoplight, and I looked over and I was like, "Oh, they're having that kind of evening in the parking lot."
Yeah. Mini Finney, after dailying the Taycan 4, do you still think the rear-wheel drive Taycan is the better EV than the all-wheel drive version? Do you think rear-wheel drive being better than all-wheel drive applies to all EVs? I want to be very clear about this. I've always said this. If you don't need all-wheel drive for winter weather, then the rear drive car is better. It has plenty of power, speed, plenty of grip, and the steering will be better because it's not powered wheels. And all those front wheels do is steer. I think the rear wheel drive Taycan drives great. It drives like a Cayman, which is very, very good. And it also has more range for the same battery. It's more efficient because it's not only powering one motor. So if you live somewhere, and I don't mean somewhere where it rains, I mean somewhere where it like legit is like snow and ice, then get all-wheel drive. But get snow tires too. And if you don't, then the rear-wheel drive I think is excellent. And that goes to every EV that I have experienced. The rear drive version drives better in all of them. Okay. Sorry. Nathan Reynolds says, I've heard the question of what cars would benefit most from the availability of a manual, but I've never heard the answer raised in the Maserati Gran Turismo. I actually think that the Maserati Gran Turismo would be a nice car for a manual.
Yeah, that's a good point because it's a great 8/10 car and it sounds good. I think the question is, would the market support that? Like, some of the Ferraris that we convert, you could spend 15 grand converting it and you probably make the money back.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would on the Maserati.
I agree, yeah. I'm pro Maserati manual conversions. That sounds good. Bus Stop Hair. We're going to go 2 more. Bus Stop Hair says, all my cars are green over tan. I love the way it looks, but I definitely paid a premium to get my cars in this spec. Do you think enthusiasm for this color combo is a fad, or is it wise to continue anticipating a premium for my love of green cars?
I feel like greens have come back a lot. I'm seeing more new cars in green, like brand new M3s, dark greens, brand new 430 or something like that, also in a dark green. It seems like more of the press cars are coming in
Lots
greens.
of Porsches greens. So many oak greens. I've seen so many greens. But a green over tan is a pretty classy combo that's been around for a long time and appreciated for a long time. So, I mean, I think that, it will always be a desirable and tasteful color combination.
And I think the supply usually is less than the enthusiasm for it. So that's why they tend to command a premium.
Right. Nice cams, one for Zach. How much has your interest in watches gone up since working with me? And are you shopping for watches now that I won't shut up about that?
I'd say it's gone up a little bit, and my appreciation for the math and everything involved in them has gone up, but it's still not. It hasn't hooked me.
A couple weeks ago, you asked me where I would park 20 grand.
That was a different situation. There are reasons. For I see a lot of utility.
How do I leave the
in
country
watches.
with 50 G's on my wrist?
You
Easy.
have got to stop putting the escape business in the street. When we go to the marina to flee one day and all the boats are gone, that's your fault. I'm going to say it was all Patreon members that took the boats. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to have to find a different marina.
Yeah, that's true.
It's okay. I mean, look, it's not my fault. It's really easy to steal a boat.
That's true, but it's your fault that we told the
Telling
city
people
that we're going to steal
people.
a boat.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. If we have to steal a boat, nothing matters anymore. We're fucking out ski, dude.
Yeah.
That's our show, folks. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our patrons. Zach is going to play dirty with fucking Sam Smith in Tennessee, and then going to go do some road and tracking in Texas.
Austin.
And I will be here running a brick and mortar business and hiring a new employee. Yay.
Cool.
That sounds fun. No, I'm playing golf on Friday with Corey. Got my new clubs. First new golf clubs in 20 years. I'm ready to. Yeah. I love golf and I play a few times a year, but I have not felt like I deserved a new set of golf clubs. Everyone blames their bad game on their clubs. Mm-hmm. Oh, you got the new driver. It's
It fixed the slice.
It's such a deep and I've already got 9 rabbit holes, and I'm like, look, for 3 times a year, 4 times a year, I don't deserve new clubs. That won't make me a better golfer. Last time my dad was here, he was like, today, just play out of my bag because we're the same height. So
okay.
I just smash. I'm smashing the ball. And I'm just like. All right, it's been 20 years, and I think I do deserve new golf clubs. Yeah. So I got new golf clubs. And
I did that with snowboard bindings.
Yeah.
And when I got new bindings, I compared the weight, and I went, why are these a quarter the weight of my old ones?
Are they carbon?
My God. No, but they were just better made. The other ones were metal. Technology advances. It doesn't advance every year, but, every decade or so.
Yeah, now for skis, there's now a third measurement. The measurement is the length, and then the width at the widest part and the width under your foot.
Oh, okay.
Because some skis are more parabolic and some are more straight and wide under your foot.
That makes sense.
For powder.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that's our show. We will see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.